Ladies and gentlemen, Seaford Town Council posted its tribute to Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, on its website. But there has been no opportunity for the Mayor and Council to mark the passing of Her Majesty's Consort with a civic silent tribute. Therefore, the annual town forum, before the annual town forum commences, the Mayor and Town Clerk respectfully request you to observe a minute's silence. You may wish to stand to show your respect. In memory of Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh. God save the Queen.
God save the Queen.
God save the Queen.
And now, to welcome Councillor Rodney Reid, Chair of the Town Forum and Mayor of Seaford, and with the Town Council update, the Town Clerk, Adam Chugg. Gentlemen.
And ladies, oh, that's the two of us. But and thank you to Peter White as the town crier of Seaford for the announcement and for leading us in that minute's silence. Now, the town council expressed its condolences in the prescribed manner on the death of His Royal Highness the Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. May he rest in peace. And a copy of the condolence letter is on our town council website. Now, the town forum is facilitated by the Seaford Town Council, but it's a meeting with a specific purpose of giving members of the public the opportunity to ask questions of the town council. Now, I need to ask you to bear with me for a little while, a few moments, while I go through an introduction to this first virtual Zoom meeting. Hopefully, by having this introduction, it'll make the whole thing flow rather more easily. So first of all, again, my thanks to you all for joining with us today, to the members of the public, councillors and officers, and to everyone who's come online to see today's virtual Seaford Town Forum, who perhaps will see it in days to come on the video. Now, as this is the first virtual town forum, there are some key points I'd like to go over. The council is recording this meeting and it will be uploaded to the Town Council YouTube channel. If members of the public do not want their name visible in the meeting and on the recording, could you please change your Zoom name to resident or something like that? Or if you're unsure how to do this, please say so now, and Georgia, who's our host, will do that on your behalf. So anyone who wants to change their name, please do so now. If someone wants help to do that, then signify to Georgia, perhaps using the chat function, and she will do that for you. I don't see anybody signaling wanting to do that. And now, can I please ask that you ensure that you're all muted at this point in time. We will prompt speakers to unmute themselves one at a time. As Mayor, as our town crier has said, I will be chairing this town forum, and I'm supported in this by our town clerk, Adam Chugg. If you have any technical problems during the meeting, please use the chat function, which is on the bottom line of your screen next to the participants list. please use the chat function to flag this up to our host, who's a council officer. Please ensure that any phones are switched to silent, so any distractions are kept to a minimum. Where using video feed, can you please ensure that you've got some lighting in front of you rather than behind you? That will make it easier for us to see you. Anyone wishing to speak will be able to do so in the question and answer sessions of the meeting. When prompted, if you're using video feed, please raise your hand to show you wish to speak. If you only join with audio, please ensure you are unmuted and identify yourself and that you're wishing to speak. I, as chair, will then prompt you when it's your turn to speak. And if we have a number of people wanting to speak, then Georgia, as our technical host, will keep a list and we will be called in order. Answers to questions or statements will be provided by me as the chair or by our town clerk. When we get to the agenda item for approving the draft minutes of the 2019 Town Forum, this is a vote to be made by everyone in the meeting, all the members of the public and the councillors. So when we come to that point, please raise your hand when prompted if you're happy for the minutes to be accepted. To everyone present, please remember to show respect to others in the meeting and avoid interrupting where possible to enable others to follow the meeting. Please do check regularly that you are muted, and the little red microphone crossed out on your screen will show you that, as this will help with the running of the meeting. Now, I realise this may well be very unlikely, but if anyone present is felt to be behaving unacceptably, they will be muted and may be sent back to the virtual waiting room if felt necessary by the council officers supporting this meeting. For those of you who have not seen it yet, don't forget to watch the Town Forum presentations video, which is on the Town Council's YouTube channel as of today, and also being posted to social media pages. So on behalf of the council, I would like to thank everyone for attending this virtual Town Forum. So as we come into the business of the Town Forum, I need to remind you that there is a video on the website, on the YouTube already, of the presentations and the awards being made. Now, the agenda for our Town Forum is as follows. There will be the minutes of the annual town meeting held on the 21st of May 2019. Now, there was no Town Forum last year because we didn't have permission virtual or safety real. So there's simply that the minutes will be reading of the 2019 meeting. Then there will be, so there's minutes, Seaford Town Council update, question and answer, and then the close of the meeting. So with my mayor's welcome and introductions, that's item 1. We now move to item 2, which is the minutes. Now, the minutes of the 2019 meeting have been on and are on the Town Council website, and I have a copy in my hands. I really don't propose to read them to you. So I would like to make this very simple by saying, can I have just a show of hands to say that we accept these as the minutes of the meeting? We just simply adopt those minutes. Are everybody in agreement with that? Thank you. Anybody not in agreement with that? That's everybody's in agreement. Thank you for that. That enables us to move forward smoothly. We now come to item 3 on the agenda, which is the Seaford Town Council update. I hand across to Adam Chugg, who is our town clerk.
Many thanks, Mr. Mayor. And good evening, everyone.
By the way, please call me Rodney. There's no need for the Mr. Mayor from now on.
Thanks, Rodney. And good evening, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, and it's a real honour and privilege to become the Seaford Town Clerk at the beginning of December. I love the town, and the opportunity to work in it, for it and with it is just an amazing one, and what I'm very, very happy to have accepted. As Rodney says, as well as my presentation this evening, we also have the awards this year, some amazing award winners. So I would urge as many people as possible, either people with us now or those watching this later on YouTube, to do please watch the video of those awards and those award winners as well, because it's definitely worth seeing. But in terms of the council update, I've prepared a brief presentation for you. So I'm going to ask my colleague Georgia to now share the slides with you, and I'll make a beginning. Thank you. Many thanks. As you can see, I've kept the title of this presentation simple: Seaford Town Council 2021. And I'll crack straight on. So the next slide, please, Georgia. That shows what I'm going to cover this evening. Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some things about the town council itself and what we do. Then we're going to say a quick word about money. And we'll talk about some of our key priorities for this year. Say a bit more about what we call staycation. Talk a bit about culture and a positive approach I'm taking to the role. And then as Rodney's indicated at the end of this presentation, they have an opportunity for anybody here to ask questions. And I look forward to receiving your questions as well. Okay, so let's get cracking then. Next slide, please, Georgia. Thank you. So the town council, key information. If you like, the town council, what do we do? Well, I think there's a few key points I want to make here. First of all, I might describe a town council as the most local level of government, really. We are the decision makers closest to our community, if you like. And that's why I joined the council, really, is to have that closeness combined with an opportunity to make a difference. And I think that's what we seek to achieve as a town council. The next bullet point is really our purpose in a phrase, the betterment of Seaford. This is what we as a town council work for. And I think that sums up our purpose perfectly, really. Both in our role as leaders and our key role work partners working with others within the community. And I'll say a bit more about that as we proceed with the presentation. In terms of some of the key work we're doing, I've got some on this slide and some on the next slide. But I think the next couple of bullet points are really about our crucial role as custodians, really. We are the keepers of green spaces and public spaces in the town, such as the Salts, the Crouch, the Martello Fields, golf course, and also the View as well, and its restaurant. A good example of this role of ours is the work we've done on the golf course and the ecological approach we've taken to managing that course as an organisation. For example, signing up to what's called Operation Pollinator. So what does that mean? It means we have beehives on the course and we've created a more bee-friendly environment. It means the way we maintain the course is not done just by cutting everything down, but a mixed ecological environment to maximise the diversity of local wildlife. It means using indigenous wildflowers and local flora and fauna, rather than, if you like, sometimes prettier stuff, if you like. It means the way we manage the course and minimise the use of pesticides. And you'll find, of course, a lot of clover that shows that's going on. And also clover is something that's loved by bees. So we take really seriously our role as custodians of our green spaces within the town. And I think that's a crucial role that we play. And obviously those spaces are very valued within the town. Also, we also are, if you like, keepers, maintainers of the seafront. And here I think there's an important balance to strike. You know, it's really is about sort of, on the one hand, we're really conscious, I think, of a council of what might be called the traditional character of the town. And I think that's very much reflected in the seafront that we find on Seaford today. At the same time, as a council, we also have a duty to see how, you know, where are there opportunities, you know, appropriate opportunities, if you like, for visitors to have what we might expect perhaps from coming on a seaside visit, and also people within the town to benefit from any facilities and concessions on that seafront. So as a council, we try to strike the right balance between those two things to have the best seafront possible for Seaford. Okay, next slide, please. More things that the council are involved with are on this slide. We're also owners of Seaford Head Nature Reserve, again, another crucial green and ecological space for the town. Again, a very much custodian role. We work very closely with Sussex Wildlife Trust on the maintenance of this vital space. We also maintain but also give opportunities for further memorials, memorial benches, the shoal, things like that as well. Really important opportunities for community recognition and for people to remember loved ones as well. We own the site where the Moore Memorial is, and this year it's its 100th anniversary. So we have plans in place to help with its maintenance to reflect it being 100 years old. And that, obviously, being a custodian, that's an example of something like we call a forever role, because clearly looking after a memorial should be for posterity. As well as managing spaces, looking after them and providing key facilities for the town, we also run key events in the town to bring local people together. And now, as we come out of COVID, we're seeing what's possible there. We're working with Seaford Environmental Alliance and other community groups on a climate day. We're making plans for Christmas Magic done in the most appropriate way for 2021, if you like. we work with local charities for regular boot fairs on the Martello fields, and there's other things we're looking at doing over the months ahead as COVID allows. We also work very closely with our community and with community organisations. With regard to community organisations, we have our own grant stream. We provide recognition through things like the Mayor's Charities and the awards, such as the ones that are being given or celebrated this evening. And we work in partnership with involved community organisations, such as the work we're doing with people like Seaford Community Partnership around the seafront or around green spaces in the town. So we think that partnership with community and community organisations is incredibly important. And we also think youth voice is important. And it's fantastic we have the young mayor's role, and a new young mayor will be elected in May this year for our annual meeting. We want Seaford Town Council to be a council for everybody. So hopefully that's giving you a bit of a snapshot of some of the things the council is doing within the town at the moment, and some of the roles that we're playing, as I say, as decision makers. I'll say a bit more about that in the next part of the presentation, as custodians, as community leaders, as partners, as funders, and as working with our local community voices. So that helps to set the scene, I think, in terms of what some of the roles of a town council are and the role we play as the most local part of local government. Before I move on to say about some of the detailed plans for 2021, I want to say a little bit about money. So can I have the next slide, please, Georgia? Thank you. So, as it says, a quick word about money. Every town council in the country has some of its funding through resident funding. And in terms of Seaford, this is how the amount has been calculated in terms of the funding we require for our local residents for the year ahead. We've set a budget that has outgoings of as you see the figures in front of you. You see the outgoings, and there's income we generate and earn for ourselves from various sources, and that figure is shown for you. And then the balancing figure to balance that budget is what's known as, the jargon is precept, but it's effectively a small part of the council tax paid by council taxpayers within Seaford. The remainder of their council taxes for Lewes District, East Sussex Police, etc., as set out on your council tax bills that council tax payers receive. So for Seaford, we've set a band D, which is the average band council tax, £106.06 per year, which does compare very favourably with similar councils in our area, i.e. it's lower than that. And we did make an increase this year, largely because of the additional costs we had to face in responding to COVID. But that increase is around 24 pence per week for those band D payers. So we think that was the lowest increase we could sensibly set to ensure we had a balanced budget, but also being really mindful that we don't want to set an unduly high level of precept and council tax for our local residents. But I hope a bit of transparency about the money for the council is helpful for people to understand how things work in Seaford. Okay, next slide, please. So I've set the scene about town council general roles, and I've talked about how we're funded. Then the next part of the presentation is what's going on this year, probably the most interesting part from my audience, perhaps. So I'm talking about 10 key things the council is doing this year. There may be other things as well, for reasons of space and time, I've concentrated upon them. The first 5 are on this slide. So one's called Staycation 21. I'm actually going to talk a bit about that at the end of the presentation in a bit more detail. What else have we got? We're doing work around what's called grounds maintenance. I talked about all these green spaces that we have. And again, we take that custodian role very seriously. We're doing crucial work this year. We've already begun it, and there's more to follow around rewilding and creating and greater use, whether appropriate rewilding in some of the spaces, and also greater use of natural indigenous wildflowers and plants rather than bedding plants or sometimes more pretty stuff as well. And you would already see in the town parts of the Salts, the Crouch, Normanston and Princess Drive. You'll see over the months ahead that going on in each of those parts of the town. And that's just the first phase of this work. And there will be more to follow as we make further plans and look at other changes we can make to the maintenance arrangements we do for our green spaces. But we're making this beginning in those 4 places identified around greater rewilding and greater use of indigenous plants and flowers. And that's part of the council commitment to climate action, which actually runs through all of our work, almost like a stick of rock, but that's a really good example of our commitment to climate action. Next bullet point is around the Martello toilets. This remains a top priority for the council to get these toilets built. And where the situation is at the moment is that before COVID, we submitted a bid to the National Lottery for the remaining funds needed for the work to go forward. And, you know, as with many things through COVID-19, everything came to a halt. The lottery, as you know, have done amazing work funding key emergency responses to the COVID national emergency. And so they put a lot of their mainstream funding programs on hold during that period. So we face a position where basically 18 months have passed and lottery have not been able to do any work on the application, or decision-making work on the application. That's some initial work, not decision-making work on the application, and we still don't know its outcome. We're working with the lottery to provide them with updated information and hope to have a decision from them, obviously sooner rather than later. So then the town will know when the work on the toilets will be able to begin. And we hope that's obviously as soon as possible. I've talked already about some of the work we're doing around climate emergency. We've got the event this year on the sites. We're working with community groups to make it happen. We've got the changes we're making to the way we do our ground maintenance work. There's all the work we've done on the golf course I talked about as well. So lots is already going on, but we're also looking as a council how we can make sure going forward when we make decisions that we bear in mind environmental factors as well as others. We already have a system where we have to understand the financial implications of any decision that we make as a council. We're going to move on to introduce a system where we also understand any environmental impacts of any decision we make as a council. I think that's a crucial part of our role as a decision-making body. And we're looking to do other work around climate emergency we hope to take forward this year. And just to say actually something I should have mentioned earlier, is around making sure as well that we will be doing some messaging work and doing some marketing work as well around messaging around climate emergency with our local community this year as well, including encouraging people to leave the car at home where they can. I personally, because I moved to Seaford in 2006, one of the reasons I moved to Seaford was you could live here without a car. And I lived on my own for a time and didn't have a car. And it's with buses and train links we have, there is public transport life possible in Seaford. I think that's one of the great advantages it has as a town. Another crucial part of our council role this year, as every other year, is around planning and land. We have a planning and highways committee that meets every 3 weeks to consider planning applications and basically give initial opinions on those ahead of final planning decisions being made by the planning authority, Lewis District Council. And that's a crucial role that we play. But also as a council, we're obviously also then work on and respond to any plannings around development affecting our area as they happen over the weeks and months ahead. And we would obviously expect that to happen in any year, and there should be no exception. We're also very fortunate in Seaford to have a neighbourhood plan. And I know that many of my colleagues are very grateful to those involved in making that possible. And obviously that's a key document we use to help inform any decisions we make or decisions we're involved in related to planning and land as well. An important privilege to remember that. Okay, next slide, please. So my second set of 5 things, around 10 key priorities for the council for this year. The work of our assets working group is fundamentally important, and it's really great we have this group in operation. And it's basically what this group is doing. It's a working group for the council. It's looking at the sites, buildings, and spaces owned by council, and then exploring what options may be for those building sites, spaces, and assets, if you like. For example, we're looking at where are there places where the community could play a greater role in the maintenance or decision making around those assets and green spaces that we have, and where we're able to do that, we would look to do that. There may also be other things to consider around the future of some of these sites that the council is responsible for managing, as a custodian, if you like. And also to be clear, and also again, our neighbourhood plan will help to inform any thinking that happens around any sites within the town that we actually own ourselves. Crucially, any work from this working group, any recommendations they make, will come back to our full council for any decisions to be taken. And that happens obviously in the public domain. So this will be a transparent process where everybody can see what is going on and what is planned. I'll put cliff erosion down because you may have noticed there's been a few cracks and falls lately. Obviously, as I'm sure everybody understands, erosion is not a linear process, and so cliffs don't fall down at the same rate every year. Some years nothing happens, and some years quite a lot happens. But we may notice from the news that quite a lot of coastal erosion seems to be happening this spring around the country. So as a council, we're very conscious of our responsibilities there. I'm pretty grateful to see we've worked very hard to make sure, you know, fences got moved, signs put up, etc., where any falls or erosion takes place. We're also working with relevant agencies about understanding what's going on with any erosion or what may happen in the longer term as well. And we're also looking to see where in the future will there need to be any decisions made around any land that may be affected by cliff erosion. And obviously that's work for the councillors to do over the months ahead. Return to physical meetings. We're virtual tonight, obviously under the COVID guidelines, but under the COVID roadmap, there is an anticipation of a return to physical meetings over the months ahead. I think we look forward to that in many ways, and obviously we'll follow the government guidelines and the government roadmap. We're making plans to enable more face-to-face meetings to happen, including members of the public, and obviously we hope that will happen. We want that to happen when it can, obviously COVID roadmap permitting. Number 9, refreshed objectives. This is a crucial one. The current strategic objectives for Seaford Town Council were expected to run for 5 years or so, and they were set in 2016. So they're coming towards the end of their natural life, I think. So this year will be a good opportunity to see how we want to refresh those. For example, again, I expect there to be more about climate emergency because, of course, we've passed the climate emergency motion since the 2016 objectives were set. So Council working up, but there will be opportunities for councillors to hope to involve members of the community, again, in some of the priority setting for us as a council over the months ahead, which we'll be doing later in the year. And finally, go back talking about a bit more about the seafront as well. I think this, I'm going to say a bit more about Staycation 21 in a minute, but what we will be doing later in the year is seeing what to learn from the summer of 2020 and the summer of 2021 around what future priorities need to be for our seafront. And there'll be some work, discussion around that and work on that later in the year, looking to the future. Okay, so that's 10 things that are going on with the council this year, hoping to give you a bit of a picture. I want to talk a bit more detail about the first one of those bullet points, what we call Staycation 21. So next slide, please. I think the context for Staycation 21 is probably well understood by everybody here. And it's obviously staycation is a phrase we hear a lot. But in a nutshell, it means that because the opportunities for holidaying abroad, or or even other options may be more reduced this year, we may expect a greater number of visitors and holidaymakers to Seaford this year. And based upon our experience of when lockdown was relaxed in 2020 and the significant increase in visitor numbers that followed, I think we can be reasonable in planning for an increase in visitor numbers this year. To be absolutely clear, Seaford Town Council is not setting out to increase visitor numbers, and we're not promoting an increase in visitor numbers. In fact, if almost the opposite, perhaps. But what we have to be ready for is how to respond to that increase in visitor numbers and see if there are opportunities for the town within that increase in numbers. So here are some of the things that are happening. Martello Fields. So we're working with, we've put an advert out to invite community groups to work with us to see if they would like to run additional car parking space on Martello Fields on some Saturdays in the summer. So just for 1 day a week, only on Saturdays. But really the idea behind that is to enable some of the visitor revenue, if you like, to go to community organisations within the town. We'd like to see that direct benefit for community groups, from visitors coming to the town, from the day trippers, if you like. We recognise this is not a promotion of car use. And as I say, we were also doing work around sending the right messages out, around encouraging people to not come to Seaford by car. But what we learnt last year was lots of people did. And there was, obviously many residents have written to us, saying about the problems that caused them within the town in their daily lives. So clearly looking for us as Town Council to see what we can do about that as well. Concessions, that means stalls and stuff like that. As a council, we're setting up to have the right balance of the right number of concessions, i.e. not too many, and also the right mix of concessions. So hopefully quality over quantity perhaps, but it may be a little more for maybe some variety of things this year. And I say we're seeing how to get the right balance between Seaford recognising we have visitors and also giving people the town coming to the seafront things to do or things to enjoy, but without turning ourselves into the type of resort that people in the town don't want us to become. And again, it's about trying to strike that right balance as a council as best as we can. Salts and Crouch, we're looking to see what additional events might happen there over the summer, given the increased visitors that we're expecting. Again, the right sorts of things done in the right sort of way. Southfield Barn, we're looking to set up some donation points there, so that people can still come there if you like, but we'll be inviting visitors to actually make a donation when they're here. Again, I think it's good to see where visitors can provide revenue back to the town if they're coming to enjoy it. But again, that will be done in the most appropriate way. We're looking to see where there are further opportunities for memorials and also further opposition for any sponsorship of any appropriate spaces that could or places that could be sponsored as well. Again, to help to increase revenue for the town from our increased visitor numbers this year. Next slide, please. Second aspect of the second 5 things we're thinking about in terms of Staycation 21, what's called glamping or camping. Again, another jargon term you may have heard already. We're looking to see what may be sensible within Seaford. So nothing's been decided about that yet, but we're definitely having a good look at it. We noticed that our partners, the South Downs National Park, have increased the amount of glamping within their national park area. So clearly it's something that's felt to be appropriate in those settings. So something that we should be looking at, and we'll look to see what's most appropriate for Seaford over the months ahead. Golf and the View, again, working with the anticipated increases in numbers, what that might mean about our management of the course. The golf, I have to say, our greenkeeper team did an amazing job doing the lockdown to keep the course in absolutely immaculate condition. It was in perfect condition for the return of the golfers at the end of March. And the View, again, as a destination restaurant, how can we help people to perhaps be aware of that, and hopefully some of the visitors come and try that place out. Again, I think that could be a benefit to the town from that happening. As I've been alluding to now at this point, this is not about increasing visitor numbers, it's about what to do with the visitors that we get. And I think, so part of our work again is working closely with the police and district council and other stakeholders around how we manage the number of visitors we think we might get this year. Obviously we work very closely with partner agencies in responding and managing the visitors that we get. And local business, again, we want to see how this is an opportunity for local business. We're strong supporters of a very important civic community partner project called the Gateway Project, which is about raising awareness to people on the beach of what there is in the town and encouraging visitors to go to the town. And we're seeing as town council not only to support that work, but any additional things we can do to help visitors to be aware of what's in the town and encourage some visitor spend within a town, that cafes, galleries, etc., that Seaford has to offer. So that gives you some idea of the key things going on in 2021, the 10 priorities identified, and one of those the staycation work, and the many things that we're doing in response to what we think is going to be the staycation year we have. Before I close, having covered, if you like, what we're going to do, I want to say a little bit about how, and if you like, almost like a pledge for me, if you like, as your town clerk, about how this role is being approached and being taken forward. So the next slide, please. So this is a culture thing. But I think culture is incredibly important. The right positive culture is incredibly important. So I believe in, as the slide says, I believe in working inclusively and promoting a culture of shared decision making. But that includes appropriate community involvement where that's appropriate to do so. At the same time, I want everyone in Seaford to understand that there is a town clerk and the buck stops here. So any issues with the council, please don't hesitate to bring them to my door. I'm very happy to see what we can do. I encourage that the council works well. That means councillors are informed and engaged to make the decisions. Officers who do the work to implement those decisions are supported to achieve successful outcomes, and that local people are informed, included, and have opportunities to be heard. A meeting like tonight is crucial for that. But I want to, as a council, we need to make sure you know what's going on, you feel included where it's appropriate, and you have opportunities to have your voice heard in the town clerk. I think that's all incredibly important. And things I value in the role, I value no surprises. A surprise is usually caused by poor communication. So I think that's about good communication and people knowing what's going on. Mutual respect. We don't have to always agree with each other. And Seaford has a population of, what, 27,000 or so, is it? So there'll be nothing that 27,000 people unanimously agree about. But we can discuss issues and even disagree with mutual respect. And finally, as I've sort of alluded to in the rest of the slide, I believe in inclusive approaches, working in partnership with our community organisations, community groups, and also the residents' voice and making sure that's heard. Next slide, please. Thank you very much for listening. As Rodney said, at the end of my presentation, an opportunity for questions for the council, myself and him. So I'm very happy to open it to the floor now. And on there is also my email address for anyone who would like to correspond with me at any time.
I'd like to thank Adam, and also to give him an opportunity to draw a breath and take a drink of water. So as we come into this kind of question time, just to say that the video will be available before many days, and the video will have of this meeting will have the PowerPoint slides. And I also think probably the PowerPoint slides will end up on the town Facebook page, or sorry, the town website. So rather, if there was a lot to listen to and remember, this information is available later. And anything that doesn't get asked tonight, you've seen Adam's email address, and also you can ask questions via admin@seafordtowncouncil.gov.uk. Now, as we come into this question and answer time, I need to ask you to avoid asking questions that are or making statements that are evidently party political. As a town council, we're facilitating this meeting, and we are in this period that the town council is referred to as PERDA, which means the town council itself shouldn't be involved in political things while there's an election running. So please, if you would avoid intentionally or accidentally straying into party politics. And also to say that if we had guests coming to our house, then we would let the visitors eat first. So I think if there are councillors here who want to ask a question or say something, can you please be sure that anybody who's not a councillor, because all of us have got opportunities to ask questions of our officers, to be in meetings, but it's the people who don't regularly engage with us are the ones who need to have that first opportunity. So as I've said earlier, the way we'll do this is if you'd like to ask a question, and these are questions about local interest, and you could raise a hand so that Georgia can make a list of who wants to speak in which area. You don't have to give your name when you're asking a question, but you can if you want. And if you just give us an idea of where your question's going. And I've been in this world a long time. I know it's possible to make a very long statement, put a question at the end and say it's all a question. So full questions if you can, please. Georgia, who have we got hands up? I can see Andy Shields and Peter White. I think we'll start with
Sorry, Chair. We had Sarah McStravics had her hand up first, and like you say, there was Andy and then Peter as well.
Oh, sorry, Sarah. Sorry, you're directly behind my camera, so if I move my head, I can see you. Sorry. Yeah, I think that Sarah goes first then.
Thank you very much, Sarah McStravick. It was lovely to hear about the flora and fauna of, sorry, Rodney and Madam Deputy Mayor. I know you probably prefer to be called Jean. Fellow councillors and ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thank you very much. It was lovely to hear about the flora and fauna of Seaford Head, and many councillors will remember that I have a particular fondness for the flora and fauna of Seaford Head, so that was great to hear, and also for planning, and obviously in these days now for staycations. But I really wanted to speak tonight about the community, because the community for me has been at the heart of the town itself. And I hope that you will agree with me, Mr. Mayor Rodney, that the whole community did come together to respond for the COVID crisis and the protection of the town and those who are most vulnerable. I wanted to thank you and Seaford Town Council for the award on behalf of Seaford Volunteer Emergency Team, and to recognise all those volunteers who responded, as it was a whole team, whole town effort, and we wouldn't have been able to do it without yourselves and without the input. I'm thinking about the town clerk here as well in his former role. For those who stood up, stepped out or stayed at home, Seaford Volunteer Emergency Team is ready, willing and able to continue in whatever way that the town needs us for in the future. We hope that we're not needed, but I would just like to say thank you on behalf of Seaford Volunteer Emergency Team.
Thank you, Sarah. I was pleased that SVET was nominated and was then an award winner. So pleased with that. And just to say, with the Mayor's Awards and the Don Mabey Award, all those nominated who didn't win an award or have an award as such will have a highly commended certificate. So Sarah, is there a question in there, or is that?
It was hope you agree with me, I think was the.
Oh yeah, I think yeah, right. Yes, good. I think hands up if you all agree with Sarah. Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I think we'll move to Andy and then up to Peter.
Thank you. I've just got 3 very quick questions. Interested in what you had to say, Adam, about camping and glamping. Last year, there were an awful lot of people camping on the beach overnight, which obviously is against council bylaws. I know it's the council has no enforcement powers, but I just wonder if you've got any plans to deal with camping on the beach this summer, because I'm sure there's going to be even more of it. The second question was, well, the second 2 questions are in relation to the golf course. Firstly, all the litter bins have disappeared in recent weeks, and I wonder if there's a plan to put them back, and if not, why not? And then thirdly, sorry, if God forbid there is another lockdown, does the council have any plans to make better use of the golf course for socially distanced exercise? Last time we were locked down, we were discouraged initially to use the golf course, and it just seems an ideal resource for the people of Seaford to use, providing they treat it with respect.
Definitely questions for the town clerk. Adam?
Yeah, that's it. I think it's a very good point about the overnight campers. I mean, at the same time, it's a very good question. I'm aware that some of the overnight occupiers of the beach are fishermen doing the fishing, but some of them are overnight campers, if you like, and I take the speaker's point. We have regular meetings with the police as partners with the council, and that's certainly a topic that's going to be on the agenda for the next meeting we have with them, in terms of what we think any appropriate steps we need to be taking as council, or there were any other agency that may be suggested. Because to see what's possible, understanding the point that you're being made. So it's definitely something that we're taking very, very seriously. In terms of the third question around the use of the golf course, again, I take your point. I think that as my presentation was alluding to, I think that with the golf course and it being a green space and an ecologically important site as well as that, we try to strike the right balance between it being a facility for the town, but also the responsibility we have as custodians of that space in terms of its upkeep. And that's not an easy balance to get right, to be honest with you. So it may be that people may feel we've deterred people from being there too much. Other people may feel that we've been a bit liberal about some of the things that some of the times that people are able to use the space, if you like. But I completely take your point, and I think we do want to see what the best use of the space is, obviously. And if there are opportunities to help with people's mental health and things like that on that green space, of course we'd like to look at them. So I'm very happy to take that away to have a look at. And sorry, Andy, can you remember what the middle question was? So I managed to write down 2 out of 3, but what was the other one?
Just about the bins on the golf course. I realise a lot of them aren't directly on public footpaths, but some of them are, and they've all disappeared. And it's asking for irresponsible dog owners to leave bags of dog mess, etc., etc.
Yeah, there's a bit of a refurbishment going on with the bins at the moment. So we've got some more on order. Some of the old ones got a bit old, and there's some newer ones coming. So basically it is a refurbishment exercise that's happening with the bins on the golf course, is my understanding.
Okay, thank you, Andy, for those questions. Peter White.
I wasn't unmuted, I am now. Yes, very briefly, an observation and a request. The observation is that when I am on anywhere near the seafront, whether I'm there for something like Sussex Day or Armed Forces Day, or whether I'm there as a citizen taking my permitted exercise, people come up to me, because people make conversation, don't they? And they say, what a wonderful town, pity about the toilets. So, it's always brought up. It's, it's a perennial one, and it's rather shaming. A query, or rather a request. Town Council is not the tourism authority, that I know, but it is very unwelcoming, unless the times have been changed, to come into the town on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday in the summer, find the tourist office is closed. I wonder if you could bring any weight to bear on District Council to keep it open throughout the week.
Adam. Happy to pass the feedback on, Peter. I will do that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else with a question?
Sorry, Chair, you've also got Arwen Folks as well with their hand up.
Sorry. All right. Reverend Arwen?
Hello,
Hello.
it's lovely to be here this evening. I was just picking up on, in the presentation you spoke about benches, and I don't know if those of you who follow on Facebook will know that in St Peter's Church recently we've had this extraordinary bench put in that's actually an L-shaped corner bench. And what we've discovered is that it has facilitated a huge number of conversations, because a bench often is where you sit maybe with your friend, but actually these corner benches are remarkable. And I just think that the one thing that I felt was slightly absent maybe from the presentation was about how we're going to help rebuild our community after the pandemic. And one of those things is really trying to address that long-term isolation, and facilitating safe places for people to be able to converse and meet with one another. And I suppose it's not really a question, well, it is a question. Have you seen a corner bench? They're very good. And would you consider putting those in around the town as you are updating and replacing benches?
If I can go first on that, I've seen a corner bench. So I photographed you and Sarah sitting on one or standing on one, standing by one. Anyway, across to Adam, corner benches.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, very, very happy to look at those. Very happy indeed. Yeah, let's see what we can do.
Okay. Anyone else? I don't want to prolong the meeting unnecessarily, but if there's people who, I think Jeff Rutland, but just to make sure none of our non-councillors wants to speak. Okay, Jeff Rutland.
Just on the subject of benches, my wife and I took a walk down to Splash Point the other day, and it was the first time I've had a good look at the fish benches for a long time, and they are simply beautiful. They're interesting, they're different, they're innovative, they're memorable, with all of the little plaques on them that commemorate so many different people. If we, you know, in Hastings, for example, a unique feature of that town is the fishing huts, you know, the very tall net drying huts, and that's a unique feature of Hastings. And if we are going to have benches which are going to be a bit of a signature of Seaford, maybe that style of bench going from Splash Point to other locations in the town would be the right way to go. I mean, the L-shaped bench is fantastic, and you're absolutely spot on about what you say. It's different and it causes conversation. But I was sitting on this this fish bench, and I had some very interesting conversation with half a dozen complete strangers, and maybe that should be a bit of a signature item for Seaford. Just my tuppence worth. There you go. See what you think.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Anyone else? Keith Blackburn. Easier with your microphone on. That's it.
Right. Mentioning the show, which we're very pleased with and all concerned, but remembering that we're rather strapped for money, would Adam like to consider having more sponsorship plaques on the show? On the one hand, it produces more income, but on the other hand, I know it is work for staff, and staff did a tremendous job selling the space on the show, but and there's also possibly scope for more partnership fishes as well as a possible useful source of income. Thank you.
Adam?
Yeah, we're very happy to look at that, Keith. Yeah, again, I'll consult with relevant colleagues about that, and we'll see what we think is best going forward. But good point to bring up.
I tell you, there's now a whole series, a small vertical shoal being built coming up along the sides, as well as the bigger fish on the bench. There are now some smaller ones beginning to appear on the right-hand side of the walkway as you go into there. Did I see someone else put a hand up?
Oh, it was only me to say that I'm not wedded to a corner bench. It was more benches that will facilitate communities being able to talk to each other. So if you want to go with fish, that's fine by me.
Yes. Okay. Good thought. Mark Brown.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Rodney. Can you hear me?
Oh yes.
Oh, thank goodness for that. We're having problems before. I'd like to thank you on behalf of Philippa Davies of Neighbourhood Watch for your presentation to her. She was the one that founded So Sussex, which recruited 2,000 people, and they made over 1 million items of clothing which were donated to the National Health Service. And she's sorry that she can't be here this evening, but she did ask me to pass on a very grateful thanks to you for that award.
Okay, thank you. And if anybody here has not seen the video that's been posted today, which has the Mayor's Awards, the highly commended certificates, the Young Mayor's Awards, and the presentation, and some very moving presentations from the some of the recipients of the large grants, it's certainly worth watching. And as I've said there in my Mayor's Reflection in the Year, what's really encouraged me is I think I'll refer back to what Sarah was saying. It's the community, and with the COVID Hero Awards, and then these the Don Maybe and the Mayor's Awards and the highly commended certificate, the strength of our community is tremendous. It's in depth, and it's something that persists. Sometimes you get a volunteer for a week or two. This is clearly, you know, embedded in the life of Seaford. It's Seaford culture. So my thanks to the town on that basis. Right, Councillor Jim Lord.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is addressed to our town clerk, Adam. It's something which I think it needs a bit of detailed thought and perhaps a feasibility study. It's with regards to the car parking on Seaford Seafront, with regards to introducing, or a feasibility to introduce, car parking for non-residents of Seaford. We have a lot of residents, we have a lot of visitors coming to Seaford and living so close to the seafront. All I see every morning, or morning during the summer, is a lot of litter, which the Seaford residents have to pay to be picked up. It's something which we need to address, and we will be in a position, rather than putting 24 pence per week per resident or per property on Band D, we can look at reducing it considered by the parking. I would ask if the town clerk could possibly look at a feasibility study. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regards to car parking charges.
Yes. Adam, I think that can be looked at, but I think there are complications there.
Yeah, but absolutely, yeah. Yes and yes would be what I would say to that. But I mean, I completely understand. There's an issue that I've noticed the correspondence about that this issue has gone up recently. I think the increased visitor numbers are obviously making people think about that issue more. So that's completely understandable. And I would not offer a solution into this meeting as say work needs to be done to see what is the most appropriate way forward, working with the relevant stakeholders on that as well, because it wouldn't just be us, but certainly I can see that there is a wish to see what is the best way forward on that issue.
I think we're coming to the close of the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Byrne. Thank you, Town Clerk, for that. Thank you.
We're coming to the conclusion of this meeting now. Now, Adam has kindly given you all his email address, and so if there are some things that come up after, you know, tomorrow you think about something, what need a little more information, perhaps, or you see the PowerPoints when the full video is on YouTube. Do please ask. You can still ask questions later. This isn't meant to be the only opportunity. It's meant to be a facilitated opportunity, but it's not meant to be the one. So please do, if you have questions, either ask your ward councillors, unless you're a ward councillor, and do ask the town clerk or officers for information. And I think it's important what Adam, as our town clerk coming into post, has shown us what his style, what his the ethos of being town clerk, and clearly the buck stops with him, and the ethos of the town clerk will become the ethos of the town council. And it's been good for me as mayor this year to have that sense of the councillors and the officers working together as a united whole. Now, that's to give you enough time to think about the one last question. Does anybody have that one last thing you must ask before we close down? No, I think we're going to finish, just to make sure nobody's hiding behind my camera. Jean Cash.
I just wanted to say, Rodney, that I was very proud of the fact that Seaford Town Council gained a civic award, and it hasn't been mentioned here. And I wondered if someone could just fill in for residents what that why we were awarded that, because I think we should be very proud of it.
Well, I think the point I should make here is it's in the video. But, but Adam, do you want to explain what this National Council or National Association of Civic Officers, NACO?
NSA, yes, it's NACO. It's a NACO award recognised.
Yeah, and so it's
essentially
it's how we were able to cope well during the COVID pandemic, and for the kind of plans we have in place to come out of that pandemic. So we were commended for what we had done, how we had coped, and highly commended for how we were going to come out of this. So it was an award for the civic office. So in essence, that's the officers with the mayor, deputy mayor, young mayor, deputy young mayor. It's a team thing. And the certificates are, if you want to look at them, they're on the town Facebook page. I think probably our town website, the mayor's Facebook page, and they are recognition nationally. I think we were competing. Well, yeah, it was an actual competition. There was a call for applications, a call for proposals, and we were there. If you like, the first runners up, and they're kind of highly commended. So this was a relatively small council, because it could have been for county councils, district councils. So it was a significant award for our officers to win. So that was well done. I think on that basis, we can draw things to a close. So in closing, I want to thank our town council officers for facilitating this virtual town forum, our first one. Hopefully we won't need to do this again. Hopefully we can go back to actual town forums in years to come. I want to thank everyone for attending our town forum. And if you've, Jean, if I was a bit harsh on you there, I'm sorry about that. But if anyone else has not seen the video yet, please take a look. And some of what's there from some of the large grant recipient, their presentations, some of those are very moving. So please take a look at that in the days to come. Now, it's a good night from me, and clearly there's no need for me to say to you, have a safe journey home, because you're already at home. But thank you for spending time with us. Good night, everyone.